Yo, we're back. I'm the foul hooked Whitey, joined by my wonderful co-host, partner in crime, husband, father, Montana fishing guide, Brandon Booty.
What up, everyone?
Booty. How are you?
I'm good.
You look good. We haven't done this for a while.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Took a little break.
Yep.
Took a little break. It felt good.
Yeah, the weather has been insane.
Jesus. Well,
seasons here.
Oh, my God. The weather's been, yesterday was like scary nice here in south central Montana, right?
Yeah.
It's the start of shoulder season.
Yeah, yep.
You know what shoulder season is?
Shoulders come out.
That's correct.
Yep.
Fuck. You don't let me go through my story.
Let's hear the story still.
Shoulder season is a very short window of time in the Big Sky country. It's between 90 and 120 days. And what that means is the weather is potentially good enough for a woman to expose her shoulders.
Okay, yeah.
Is that, that's what you thought I meant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's not tawdry or inappropriate. It's just, ladies' tank top.
Yep.
Shit like that. Saw some shoulders yesterday walking around.
Yep.
Shoulder season.
Or they call them spaghetti straps. Little thin ones.
I didn't see that.
Little thin ones.
No, I didn't. That's kind of like 70s porn. That's right? Yeah. So, are you working? have you picked up some trips
My first official day is tomorrow, actually.
Oh, exciting. Yeah. Has the river been busy? We're talking about the Bighorn River downstream from Fort Smith.
Yeah, I got a lot of opportunity to work this weekend, but it's my son's birthday, so I didn't. But
it's happening.
They were saying there was like 100 boats out there on Saturday.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. I'll get into that, as I'll talk about my transition, the fact that I'm open elsewhere and that experience, which has been good. But before we even talk about what we're going to do, what we're going to discuss today, fly fishing Nielsen ratings came in. And, it feels so good to be part of this company's assessment of who might be listening to us. And because of that stoned out interview with the Vanilla Gorilla, it was. We're actually at 10 listeners worldwide. So it's just been a ricochet up and down. Who knows who listens to this, but I don't think many.
What was it? It's been so long since I've been here. What was it? What was it before the 10?
We were suspended.
Oh yeah, we were suspended. Coming off of a suspension because again, they couldn't feel a heartbeat out there in relation to the Foul Hooked Whitey's podcast. Not one. So today we're going to talk about something that is not a fad. It's a technique that's not a fad. Okay.
Right. And the name of this episode, part 1, is, nobody cares that you Spey cast.
Okay.
So the line, nobody cares that you Spey cast, I have a sticker here in my shop that we created, we printed, we built, we sold. Nobody cares that you Spey cast. And, I really didn't even, a guy came in from Great Falls, and it makes sense because, the Missouri has got a Spey culture, trout Spey, right? And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about salmon and steelhead per se. We're talking about trout Spey for trout, right? Yeah. So this guy comes in. He's like, "Listen, you got some great stickers here, but I got a tip for you." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Make a sticker. Nobody cares that you Spey cast." I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. That's when when he came in, the trout Spey thing was picking up some steam. It's
how long ago we think this was?
6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8.
Okay.
Right? And that's it never really got to the point in my area where like I had to react with inventory. Right? The first time I put in a good trout Spey order to my Sage rep, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, motherfucker, I'm ordering Sage rods." He's like, "You don't need those 2-handers." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "When you're east of the Continental Divide, you don't fucking need them." And I was like, "Wow, okay," but
that's
I'm still
a good rep right there.
Yeah,
though.
well, it really was.
Rep,
it was, and it's a guy who knows his territory. But this is just interesting. It wasn't like people were coming in left and right looking for a 2-handed setup, but it was getting more exposure in social media, advertising. All the rod vendors were coming out with a trout Spey, right?
Yeah.
It was trending, right? And, I'm a streamer guy. And I suppose there could be some applications out there where 2-handed casters are fishing something besides a streamer. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, it's around.
I guess wet flies.
Yes, soft tackles.
Yeah.
Shit like that, right? So this guy, prods me to make this sticker, and I make it, and it resonates. And the reason it resonates is he wanted this made because his friend, every time he references that he went fishing, he tells him, I casted two-handed. Right? I mean, every time. Like that's the big part of this guy's fishing game, is the fact that he's a Spey caster, right?
Yeah,
trout Spey.
Yeah.
They make a big fucking deal out of it, in other words. So I make this sticker, and as trout Spey has evolved, I mean, Spey fishing, two-handed casting, has been done literally since the early 1800s.
Yeah, I would.
How about that shit? Like fucking, I mean, Scotland or Ireland. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know the history, but I wouldn't be surprised if
Atlantic salmon.
If it happened to be first,
dude, they're
using two hands first.
It was like such a big deal. It still is over there, right? I mean, it's really fabric in our sport. Okay, it's fabric in our sport. The thing about two-handed casting is, besides some of the arrogance and the personalities that come from two-handed casters, and I think it's there, right? I think it's there. The thing about it is that there's just, for what they need, there's nothing that works better.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, what am I talking about? I'm talking about, number one, distance.
You're covering water, yeah.
You're launching that motherfucker all the way across a big river, or at least, medium to large, right?
Oh, yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
And holy shit, you do it all here. There isn't anything back here.
Yeah, which is wild to me. Watching someone's
they've got they've got something called an anchor, right? And then that's that line in front of them that allows them to have a little bit of resistance to pick that up and then do their whip thing and then shoot it. And I realize what level of amateur I sound like here, because I never turn down a dollar when it comes to retail and fly fishing. I mean, if something's trending, look at all those ridiculous fucking Perdigons I bought. Right? Goddamn 11-foot 3-weights. Okay?
Yeah.
I bought that shit because people were buying it. They were looking. But trout Spey, for me, if you don't do it, you're not going to fucking sell it. Because just the lines are so goddamn complicated. Jesus Christ, all the different heads and the grain, it's just, if you're good at it, you're going to really benefit from it, right? If you talk to people, and again, I fish streamers for trout 80-90% of my whole year. So you'd think I'd be the candidate, right?
It's different, though.
And it's so different. Now, I'll touch on that, but what I kind of see the two-handed trout game does for anglers is, it kind of gives them superpowers. They're almost like kind of a superhero with that fucking two-hander when they're good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, they can launch that shit all the way across. I mean, it's an effortless type motion, right?
They can cover so much water.
Right, when they're good. And so they love to verbalize that, though. They love to verbalize it. I'll get, two-handed guys. And, one of my staff, my best staff in terms of being a fisherman, he's a two-handed guy now.
Is he? Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
He's a two-handed fisherman. And he does it not out of elegance or out of I can learn anything, right? He does it out of 100% necessity. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really where the whole two-handed rod thing and the castability and not needing any back casting room. And once you get it down, being able to shoot that line 60, 80, 90, 100, 120 feet just like that.
And now these guys are doing it off a boat now.
Well, that's what I, and that's interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't know.
You're seeing it.
I was asking you as a question.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm just saying that, the point to it to me is to be able to wade fish
and cover the opposite bank if you need to,
and get that experience of wade fishing, but not have to be in a raft or a drift boat to get to that other side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the elegance part of really Spey casting, besides really looking at some beautiful casts, I mean, you've seen this shit, right?
Oh yeah.
You see these cats that fucking I mean,
when you see that Spey cast,
yeah.
It's elegant.
It is. I mean, when they shoot it, it's man, it's like watching a football in the air.
right?
Yeah,
Slow motion, watching that shit, just glide across and land. I mean, it's a cool sport, or aspect of the sport technique wise. I had two friends that are here in Billings that are still friends that tried to teach me. One guy named Kevin is like, this guy is talking about like exemplary. I mean, he was an absolute pro. Kind of cut his teeth up in Alaska doing it, right? I mean, superb. He would have taken me under his wing and taught me, but I wimped out on that shit.
Oh, you should have done it.
Well, it wasn't that I didn't go, but my point is that I'm a good fly caster. I mean, I am. I'm not great, but I'm good. And damn, that is like completely and entirely the fucking opposite.
Yeah, I feel like the learning curve has to be higher on that.
Oh my God. I mean, you think because you're a good, one-handed rod caster that you're going to just roll on into that two-handed game and just be, just the greatest ever? No.
You think the movements and the timing, all that?
I think all of that, and when the power comes in at the follow-through at the end of the cast, that is just a minimal part of what gets you a great cast from my little bit of teachings, right? If you hit that thing right, it's like I said, it's just going to go and go and go and go. And it's neat to watch, and it would have been nice to kind of fight through that learning curve and get semi-proficient at it because, like I said, to me, again, part of that arrogance and part of that full of themselves when it comes to I do this and I'm a real small part of the sport. That to me is why this dude wanted me to make this sticker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because he knows people that they think their shit don't stink. Right? I mean, that's mild from my mouth, but it's true. They just kind of feel like, that this is hard, and it is hard. And, the other thing about it is too, it's like and I haven't done it, but I would assume that I've swung a lot of streamers in my day, and very few hook sets are the result of a rod tip lift. You're just not doing that. You're tracking that bug on the swing, right? I mean, directionally.
Yeah. That was my question. Is they have this line so far out there? How are they setting this hook? Are they just keeping it tight?
I
swinging
think
the fly and it sets itself. Or
you're doing, on your swing, you're doing what a guide friend of mine calls a contact strip. You're not just letting that thing spool out on you and going downstream. I mean, you're keeping it tight, waiting for the light. Feel that baby eat, right? Supposedly with steelhead, they're the toughest because they've got a light eat.
They've got a what?
A light eat. They've got a very non-discerning eat of a fly, a swung fly. They really, it's never a hard hook set with these guys. It's always this, okay, it slows, it stops. Okay, hang on, feel, it's really sophisticated fishing, right? I mean, it's not, caveman shit like I do with a sparkle minnow. Okay? But the fact that these guys swing flies is just as sexy as it is that they cast with a two-handed rod.
Yeah.
You get it? It really is. That's another thing is, hey, have you been out? Yeah, man. I went and swung some flies on the stone yesterday. It's kind of a status thing to these two-handed guys, at least some of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And swinging a fly, man, let's face it, that's some sexy shit.
It is. Right?
I mean, that's some sexy shit. My question is, with a legit two-handed trout spey, besides swinging flies, what are you doing? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking.
That's what I was wondering. Like, do they ever do anything different than swing the fly?
There's some motherfucker right now listening to us out of 10.
Yeah, but he's saying they don't know what they're talking about.
Maybe not. But if there are, he's sitting there saying, "You dope. I strip with my trout spey. I twitch with my trout spey. I bobber fish with my trout spey. I do everything. I high stick it. There's probably more to it. But I think that the reason that those are out there is for the distance and the swing.
Yeah, and then when you look at the bugs, right? They always have the
stinger hook.
The stinger hook.
Yeah, well that's my next topic. So
and I'll talk about this in the coming weeks, but I've opened up down in Thermop, and I've had so many recognizable people come into my new shop down there, both Wyoming people and Billings people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I get this guy, and he's very recognizable. He's a nice man, lives in Thermopolis, and he stops in just to say hi. And again, he's very familiar to me because he's a good fly tying customer. And he looks at me and says, now I need you to do something for me. I'm like, okay. I want to please these folk, right? It's going to be my home. Scrape to make a living type shit.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
Okay. The guy says, carry some fucking intruders. And I'm not laughing that this man asked me to carry something. Yeah, it's just that it's as soon as he said that to me, I'm like, okay. I mean, fuck, I guess. I mean, I've carried something similar, which is just usually like, a fake hair or synthetic fiber with a stinger hook with some adhesive eyes on it. It's not a bugger. It's not an articulated streamer. It's just it's a bait fish that swims nice when it's swung.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the first thing the dude asked me is to get some deceivers in there. And so, the trout spay thing has penetrated a lot of psyches in the sport of fly fishing. I really think so. And I brought up the fact that it's not a fad. It's not a fad like Tenkara. It's not a fad like Euro. And Jesus, that's a whole different subject. I mean, people are going to be pissed at that. But, Euro to me seems, in terms of just Joe Schmo walking in, Euro to me seems like it's flatlined.
Yeah,
it's flatline. Yeah, it's flatline. I mean, it's still there. I sell a ton of Euro bugs, and still sell some rods here and there. But it's not like it was 2-3 years ago. And we talked about the fad element to Tenkara.
Yeah.
Okay, trout spay fishing, two-handed casting is not a fad, and it is not Tenkara. That's for damn sure. You got to have some motherfucking game. The problem is they know they got game.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of game.
And they tell you. All right. So you got anything else to add to this boring subject?
Nope.
All right. This is the Foul Hooked Whitey, episode 1. Nobody cares that you spay cast. We're out.